Good
Morning, everyone. Honey and bonjour. Sorry, we're running a little bit late today, a little native time. So we're gonna call the meeting to order. It's 9:34. Ellen, would you like to do roll call, please?
District 1 is
Absent. Yeah.
District 2,
Here.
District 3,
Here.
and I'm here.
Yeah, we have a quorum. Which next up is review and approval of the agenda. What I have so far is we got land department, we got Jamie Arsenal for the rights of omen task force. We got Frank Bebo. Pat Butler's going to talk about the vaccines. We're going to talk about some special harvest permits for some deer from Monoman High School. Some signature requests, White Earth Builders. Annie, you took off policies, you said?
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about the volunteer fire departments and also the NCC letter. And also we'll talk about we got some stuff in the executive session. So, but it seems like it's going to be kind of a short little agenda, we hope, but I think we'll add some more stuff to it right now, and I'll answer any requests for any addition to the agenda.
Brown was on the waiting list 2.5 years, and she's in a homeless situation right now.
She'll talk about homelessness.
Yeah.
Okay, homelessness. Okay. The old business. So, anybody else have any thing to add, guys? All right, ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Kathy,
Second.
second by Cheryl. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Also, I'd like to include the works.
The what now?
Works. The one for easement for on that highway 200.
Oh, so that'll be a land thing with Sarah, huh?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that and bring it up.
Maybe you could follow up with Sarah on that and bring it to next week's meeting. Is that
Next
fine?
week?
Yeah, we're meeting next Friday. Next Friday is our monthly meeting, so, but we'll have Lori check in with Sarah or with Catherine on that easement, so we'll check on that. We'll have that ready for you next week, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, next up is approval of the meeting minutes, which I don't think we have any in here at this time, so. And I think the next thing is the calendar review. I know next Wednesday we're gonna have a small business meeting with council. I know talking to Scott Omelet, who was here earlier, says we got probably about around 20 applications for the small businesses. So we'll probably do an update next week, and we'll approve some of them. You know, remember we have a limited amount of funds, and I know for a fact, we probably got about 20 applicants for small businesses. So if you're one of the owners of the small businesses, we will get back to you, Scott or Lori or Curtis will reach out to you and let you know if we're going to be awarding those very soon. So I want to say maybe for your patience on that. Anything else in the calendar, guys?
I want to talk about you got the fire department going, right?
Yeah, and we have a draft response we'll talk about.
Okay.
I know the admin ladies are
42,000?
The admin ladies are working hard on the Toys for Tots stuff right now. They're all buying stuff for the communities. I know that right now it's a lot of stress, and I know that we're working hard for you, and we're trying to get the cards ready, the gift cards for our elders. I know so we're working on that, and so if you are left out for Thanksgiving, please reach out to any of the administration girls, and they can probably steer you to the right community council members to look at. So I know that we're trying to work the kinks out, everyone. So I want to say miigwech and for your patience, and stay tuned. There's stuff there. We also have information that's on our Facebook page and also our website. And I know for the COVID applications, I still think we're taking applications for the COVID distribution too. So please check with enrollments, and I know that, so miigwech. All right, first, anything to add else to the calendar, guys?
Oh, calendar, I'm sorry. On Monday, at 10 a.m., Monday the 14th at 10 a.m., we are having our first, it's the initial hearing in White Earth and Leech Lake versus DHS with the Office of Administrative Hearings. That's the medicated assisted therapy overpayment issue
Will it be
appeal.
here?
No, it'll be on the phone. Several weeks ago, maybe actually a couple months ago, I sent the letter we got. It's a phone number with call-in information, and I'll forward that to the council on Monday morning.
Okay.
So it'll be at the top of your emails on Monday morning. And in the letter, it'll be in the letter itself that'll have the call-in information for that hearing. That'll be at 10 a.m. It'll just be the initial hearing. We're just gonna be talking about some procedural stuff. And it'll be the attorneys talking, so council probably won't be talking, but more than welcome to listen in and hear the discussion.
Good stuff. All right, miigwech. Anything else to add to the calendars? All right, miigwech. All right, next up, we have Sarah Luffinier with the Land Department. All right, did everybody get a copy of the land documents to be approved? And Sarah's here to answer any questions. And I guess I'll talk about the home sites. There's 3 on the home site, 1 in each district. There's District 1, District 2, and District 3. Anybody have any questions? And anybody want a motion to approve those? Kat, you get a copy of this? Right there. Can we get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Cheryl, second.
Second?
Second by Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is the Lake Shore. We got 6 of them. There's 3 in District 2, or 4 in District 2 and 2 in District 3. Any questions on those ones?
Move,
What's that, Kat?
move there, did.
Do you want a motion on
Okay, we got.
Are you good with those?
Yep.
Okay, motion to approve the Lake Shore.
Motion.
Motion by Annie, second.
Second?
Second by Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up are the trail permits. We got Night Riders, Hardwood Trailblazers, Snowdrifter, and Northwood Trail Reavers. 3 are District 2, 1 is District 3. Motion by Kathy?
Motion.
Motion by Kathy, second.
Second.
Second by Annie, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, next up are the businesses, White Earth Housing.
111.
Anybody have any questions on those? Motion? Motion by Kathy, second? Second by Andy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Carol. Is that it?
I just want to add one thing, Mr. Chairman, if I can.
Yes.
Under the signatories, I will have the Pine Point IHS lease.
Okay.
So that you guys can make a motion when you get to it, but just want to clarify that that's renewing their lease for an additional.
Did it go to Lenny?
Yeah, that was one of the emails I got this morning.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Also, your easement, there's 3 units that they want to keep for the trees cut down.
Okay.
And, if you get hold of Jeff, he'll give,
Jeff Ward,
yeah.
you got his number?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Carol.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
That's quick, huh?
Sweet.
We like reading.
All right, next up, we got Jamie. Is she on the phone or is she outside?
Here, just go.
Okay. Morning, Jamie.
Morning.
Yeah, you're on right now for the Rights of Omen Task Force.
Correct. Did they get you copies? I made some extras, but it wasn't certain.
Oh, yeah.
I think that there's some,
Okay.
oh yeah, we got it. in the packet.
Okay. So, this would be a resolution for a task force that would be created to help uphold the rights of the women, the original resolution that we all have passed.
Excuse me, Jamie, could you speak closer to the telephone, please?
Sure.
This is Frank.
Oh, hi, Frank. So this is, would be
Hi, Jamie.
a task force, created to help uphold the original rights of the Omen resolution, that you all had passed. So, be comprised of, myself, the TIPO, as far as a representative from public health, public safety, legal, natural resources, just to be able to provide a more, comprehensive, I guess, oversight and evaluation and just making sure that that rights is protected. Be able to give recommendations to council, be able to take concerns from community members, just to be able to kind of pull that together. Because those resolutions are they need to be acted on, right, to have that power. So this would be one way to be able to do that. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Okay. So what you're kind of saying is like this kind of will give us more stronger language from the previous kind of resolution?
It doesn't change the language of the rights of the women in that resolution, but it helps to, I guess, uphold it, more, implement it.
Okay,
It creates a group of people who actually implement the resolution.
okay, good.
Motion.
By Kathy?
Hold on, Mr. Chairman, I'd
Okay,
like to
sorry.
add, you're doing this task force, right? Can we get a community member on that?
Sure.
I mean, if you can add that in there, maybe, so there's a community member out here that we can have some input to. That's all
I was
I have.
actually gonna ask about that, if we should do community or one from every community, so.
Yeah, that would, I think, that'll help.
Sure.
With backlash.
So, no, of course, it makes sense.
Okay. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, so are we good now with discussion? I know that's my fault, not in discussion, so, but do we have any more discussion out there for this resolution? Okay, Kathy motion, second by,
We gotta say motion with changes or no? It's an issue, no?
we could just say it, I mean.
The resolution itself can be approved as
Okay.
is. what we're talking about is who's gonna be sitting on the task force, and that's not in the resolution.
And I didn't draft up like the specifics of all of that because I knew, because the original rights of omen, when that resolution was written, the actual piece was attached to that and that was approved. So I didn't do that here because I figured that conversation was really important, so I just put that in the MOI. So yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Andy, all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
And I think,
You wait longer than,
did you,
you're not.
hey, Jamie, did you want to give us, I know you're an executive, is it something that you want the public not to hear in the executive session about
Well, I have
9/30?
other things to bring down, so. Yeah.
Oh, okay, we could do it then, okay, I see. We'll just
Thank
do it.
you.
All right, me goods, Jamie.
See you later.
All right, next up, I got, Frank on the retainer stuff. You there?
Yes, yes, I am.
Thank you. I know we got the email here too.
Yes, it's coordinating with Earth Justice and another attorney, Jill Grant, who works right out here in DC area, who works on a lot of Native American issues. And they basically, they're offering their services essentially for free, but they want to make sure that all the parties share the costs. And as you look through the retainer, you'll see that they're estimating that the cost for White Earth, and probably every party, I would guess, that's divided, would be less than $1,000.
No.
This is,
You guys have-
and this is for federal litigation against the Corps of Engineers for the water permit that they granted that allowed the construction to start on line 3.
Yep. Thank you, Frank. Any discussion on this request for Earth Justice?
As the Secretary Treasurer mentioned, in the legal department, we have a line item for other professional services that this will come out of. And so it doesn't require a budget amendment or anything like that.
Just a consensus.
Yeah, and legal has reviewed the retainer agreement and we recommend approval.
Okay, so consensus? Or you want to do a motion now?
Yeah, it should be a motion.
Okay, motion by Alan, second.
Second.
Second by Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Frank. Be good. Keep up the good work.
Be good, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, thank you.
Next up, we got Pat Butler. Pat, are you on?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're next up on the agenda,
I'm
so
here.
go, you got the floor. Talk about the vaccine.
Hey. So did you get a little packet of information about the vaccine as well that I will be speaking from?
Yes.
So as we all know, the COVID vaccine is closer to being ready to disperse to where it needs to be given. So what we know today is, first of all, preparing for the vaccine, we did put out some community surveys. And I think the results of the surveys are in your packet, which tell us that there is interest in the vaccine in our communities, that there are people that are willing to have it, there are people who do not want to have it for various reasons, and there are people who are uneasy, but as more information and more things happen, they may reconsider. Overall, the numbers that will actually get it are 34.75% as of yesterday. Uneasy but willing to get it, 32.63%. And those that do not want to get the vaccine is 33.90%. So people are taking in information, asking questions, making some decisions. And as time goes on, we'll continue those surveys and update what those numbers look like frequently, so that we have still a voice of the community being heard there. We know that yesterday, Pfizer received a big EUA approval, and we are now anticipating they should have their final approval done by the end of the weekend on Sunday. And so that would mean anticipating the groups that are getting Pfizer, the ultra cold vaccine, they would be arriving on time.
How many?
There were the first two.
Pat,
What was that?
Pat, Kathy asked how many doses are they getting the Pfizer?
As a tribe, the tribal department is not getting any of those doses. The Pfizer doses will be going to the Indian Health Service. The Pfizer vaccine, it requires different kind of refrigeration and has to be given in a shorter timeline. And so I think ITES is receiving about 125 doses of that. And the first round target population will be their healthcare providers in the facility. And then if they're not using all of that for that, we will assist with either getting population to them or taking that vaccine to population in the timelines that are necessary to make sure the doses get used. And the next priority group would be vulnerable elders that have health issues. So the tribe on our side, and we will be getting Moderna vaccine, which will be coming from the state through that doorway. We know that it will arrive about a week after the Pfizer because that EAU approval is about a week behind Pfizer. Those are the first two vaccines to go through the approval process, and there are still others going through the trials, and it's highly likely there will be other vaccines available in the future as that work continues. But currently with rollout, it will just be the two options. Some things we know about those two vaccines, both of them have gone through trials prior to this time. Their efficacy is about 95%, which is a very good number, a very strong number. They have to have the safety standards. The question being how fast can they develop them and making sure that they went through those trials, and that has been happening during this time of COVID, significantly publicized and out, and those numbers are greatly tested and have feedback in those journals at this point in time. The trials or the work on that will continue even after it's approved, and the groups will continue to take that data in. Either one of those vaccines require 2 doses. So the first dose, and then 3 to 4 weeks later, the second dose. You need to take both doses for full protection. And so we'll also be developing systems to track that and to make sure we're helping people get in those appropriate timelines. The time in between there from the first dose to the second dose is time for your body to start building up the protection, the measures of building antibodies against the disease. And so from the time you get your first to the end of that 6-week time, you should be protected. But it's going to take that full 6 weeks, and so during that time, people will still need to be masking and social distancing. So it's not an immediate response. You don't get the vaccine, go out the door that day, and are fully protected. And I think that's one of the points that has to be highly stressed, is that even though you've had the vaccine 1 dose or even the second dose, there's still a timeline in there. So we have to continue practicing the protective measures that we've been doing throughout COVID. The vaccines are good at preventing people from getting sick, but there's still sometimes there are side effects. There are a few of those pieces that you would get with COVID. You may have some body aches, you may have a headache, but the symptoms are less, and that's how you know that the vaccine is working for you. because your body is reacting to it and starting to build protective measures. The vaccines are only for adults. None of the vaccines are approved at this point in time for children. So they're 18 years and older is the only population that can receive the vaccine right now. The vaccine is not required or mandated, it's individual choice. Any other questions about that so far?
I have one question. Is there like a list of adverse effects or anything that you know of, Pat?
There is information put together, and that's supposed to be available on the FDA site today. And we will also get that as we receive our vaccine, probably a couple days prior. That we're getting the pertinent information to the vaccines that we're getting. And those will be distributed at vaccine time, and education will happen. So that's one thing to expect when you have your vaccine. There will be education given, paperwork given, and so it's probably going to take 15 to 20 minutes after or before, or both, of that information and feedback.
Okay.
And so as that comes out, we can start sharing that before those events as well.
Couple people died in Canada from the treatment.
Pat, did anyone get seriously hurt or get like deathly ill from this?
Canada?
That validated kind of report about that at all.
So, this is Lenny, Pat. I know, listening to the news, that as the vaccine has been rolled out in the United Kingdom, I heard a report that there were a couple of people, I think 2 people, who were reported to have serious allergic reactions. And so then the UK put out guidance that if you have this history of serious allergic reactions, just wait to take the vaccine until we can but I haven't heard of any reports of anybody dying from the vaccine personally.
That's correct, Lenny. And reports of that allergic reaction symptomology was related to the Pfizer product.
Yeah.
And so now they're coming out, the new recommendations will say that if you have a history of needing to use an EpiPen, so like if you have a bee allergy or any kind of allergy, peanut allergy, so that you carry an EpiPen, you should avoid the Pfizer vaccine.
Good.
Yeah. The next piece of what we'll talk about is who gets the vaccine first. And this has been decided in a lot of different ways, but the guidance really is coming from the CDC Advisory Committee on Immunization Practice. And so states have looked at that, and as a tribe, we consider that, but as a tribal nation, there's also the authority to make our own levels of priority in there. So what we're kind of looking at right now is phase 1A, which is the first phase that will be rolling out. So that will be the vaccine coming in the next week and thereafter. A lot of that is for healthcare workers, and long-term care residents should be included. Now, there have been conversations about that meaning nursing homes and assisted living. We don't necessarily have those kind of facilities, but we do have congregate living facilities. So we have different kind of situations that still meet that need. And so part of the population in there would be our homebound home care population, because we've been keeping them at home and trying to keep them safe. They would be included in having or not having, if whatever their choice were, have that vaccine. It would be not all of the nursing staff, but a certain part of the nursing staff would be able to have that vaccine. We would look at other specialty populations within our living parameters are, homes that have elders in them, they're very, very vulnerable to disease, who have family living with them. We would offer that to the family in that home to protect not only the elder, but help by protecting that family. We would also offer to leadership, law enforcement. EMS is something that's not been included on the state side as the 1A phase. We would include our EMS simply because it's a very necessary service for White, and without it, there's no one to come in and do that kind of work that would need to be done if someone needed an ambulance. There's also prioritization for people who live or work in settings that are more apt to have exposure and have a higher risk of that occurring in the workplace because it may be crowded. People who have severe morbidity or mortality, so disease processes, so chronic disease, people with diabetes, those kind of situations would definitely be included in our round of what we get. People who have, if we have a homeless population that we want to reach out to, we would definitely include that group because they're mobile and don't have a lot of security and safety. So those are just some of the things that would be included in our first round. So as far as our White Earth response, and we've been working collaboratively with IHS on making sure we have vaccine available from all places. The IHS clinic will receive their Pfizer vaccine somewhere around the middle of the month. And they're anticipating somewhere around on or shortly after the 15th of December. All of their vaccine at that time will be the ultra cold storage vaccine. It'll be coming to them. It gets shipped on dry ice, but it will be delivered from the area office to them. And as that happens, it's taken out of dry ice. So then they have 5 days to get all of their doses used. You cannot use them after that 5-day time. And they will start again with some of their healthcare staff and then delineate down from there. The White Earth Health Division is anticipating delivery a week to 10 days later than that. Our delivery will come from the state of Minnesota, technically, but it will be delivered directly to White Earth. It will be the Moderna product, and it does not require the ultra cold storage. So we've procured extra vaccine refrigeration, so we can store that in large numbers and work through that distribution accordingly. So as far as I know, we're still on task for that. And as the emergency authorizations are very similar for both products, don't anticipate at this time a long hold-up or discussion on that happening. And again, both of those still require that 2-step process. And we continue to work with the state of Minnesota to keep track of how many doses we will get, when that will arrive, and how often the deliveries will come after the initial dose delivery. And again, we talked a little bit about our priority populations, underlying health issues, medical personnel, community living, and elders. And again, none of them can be given to anyone under 18 years of age. And we continue to work locally as well, communicating with EOC, talked with Merlin about doing welcoming or blessing the vaccine as it arrives on White Earth. Also doing some more work around that and getting all of that information out in a good way. So that's kind of where we're at this point in time with vaccine. We are ready to mobilize as soon as it arrives. And again, the Moderna product lends itself to more mobile applications, which is what we really do. So as that arrives, we will go to homes for a home population. We can do that vaccine in clinic settings in each community. So perhaps in a drive-through situation even. So working together with EOC and the health leadership group to know how to best serve the population where they're at, getting that product to them. And also working with IHS so that if they're receiving more Pfizer and aren't able to get that out in the timelines that are working for them, we can help get that product out and use that as well.
Rich, you know, that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of exciting to hear some of this finally getting to the res, you know, and I think, but there is some like the data says that the comment period that you had was, you know, a lot of people are still kind of skeptic about the vaccine, but I think it's important to kind of get us back into that mental track. I guess the fatigue of all of us, you know, that's going through this whole pandemic is kind of really kind of getting to us, and I know that could come at a better time. So, good.
Okay, we did have the meeting with state of Minnesota yesterday was to have discussion about how many doses would be coming to individual reservations. And so for White Earth, we've requested 1,000 doses, and that's related to population. And part of that is just looking at our home care census, our elder vulnerability population, those, and maybe a third of the frontline healthcare workers, which would include EMS and law enforcement. And then working with EOC to delineate down from there to maybe even looking at some positions here and there within the casino or other places that we should be adding to that list, but really looking at that 1,000 doses sounds like a lot, but really in that first wave, the population we've identified is really covered with that 1,000 doses. So that each consecutive delivery we're hoping would be the same amount. As White Earth is the largest tribe, we
Wait a minute,
have the largest number.
Pat.
Yeah.
What about the Sigmund Omen? You know, in their nursing home and all of that.
So the Monoman Nursing Home is actually in Monoman County, but it's run by a different entity that will probably also be getting some vaccine. But we do have a nurse, you know, Sarah at EOC is working with public health on the Monoman side kind of collaboratively. So we will definitely work together, and that some of that is not necessarily included in all of our census, but we definitely have that awareness of if there are deficits there or staffing issues, we would intervene and help out with that situation as necessary, because we know the population there is probably a lot of White Earth population.
Right. Also with our people that are in jail, I heard that 70% of the people are affected by COVID.
Right. And we can certainly work through that with the counties as well and see what kind of dynamics they're having, what kind of prioritization their leaderships have done, and ask about the population that we could be accountable for in those situations and try to bridge that gap if there are deficits there.
Okay. I personally believe that we should go down to St. Cloud, wherever, Moose Lake, take care of our people, you know. 70% is really outstanding.
Right.
And as far as elders, alone is
we would probably have to work through some agreements there because that would be different jurisdictions that we would be going into. So there'd be some things we'd have to work through logistically to make that possible. So thanks for bringing up that request.
Okay, thank you.
Well, miigwech, Pat. I know like we said earlier, we've been patiently waiting for this. So we're kind of, the council's eager to start looking when we start doing those first doses. So, and of course, working along with IHS and also the other public health entities, like you said, the counties, with Becker and Monoman and Clearwater, and how they're going to distribute. So, but it's gonna be good when it comes. So, and it's right around the corner. So, I want to say miigwech for the information.
Well, thank you. We'll definitely work with Roman and EOC to try and get some video coverage of some of the first doses or people that are willing to be videoed and include that in our narrative. So
I think our chairman
we're
should go
going to want to do that.
right?
Mike, was that you volunteer?
I was trying to say Alan and Lenny should go first, but just like and Scott handle the money. So those guys gotta be tip top shape there. So.
See how he's trying to get out?
Well, miigwech, Pat. Appreciate the
All right.
the information and the upcoming events that are coming here at White Earth, with the vaccine. So miigwech.
Perfect. Let me know if you have any other questions. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Miigwech. All right, next up on the agenda.
Oh,
Oh.
before you leave, Pat? Pat.
Pat.
This
She got out.
is quick.
Yeah.
All right, next up I have, is the special harvest permits for the Monoman High School.
High school?
Yeah, I think they're requesting a couple deer.
Yeah.
I think they want to kind of offer some type of class or video class on how to skin a deer or how to dress that wawashkishi. So I know that's something that is educational for the kids, the students that are up in the Monoman High School area. So motion by Kathy, second. Second by Cheryl, all in favor?
Yeah.
Motion carries. All right, next up I have is a request for a resolution. What's this now, Lori? This next one?
So that would be a request by,
Oh, no, this is for Ed. Yeah, Ed, go ahead.
okay, so it's a request by District 3 to bring a question for council forward regarding the resolution and signatory request and process.
Yes, I'm noticing we've got quite a lot of resolutions and signatory requests. Do we need a resolution for each signatory request is my question, and if so, can we just start doing the ones that we actually need or if not, can we actually start doing the ones that we need an actual resolution with? I talked to some of the grant writers and they said that the grants don't need a resolution, but the signatory request is what they look for. I don't know if it's themselves or grants. I didn't clarify that. I can see a large amount of money, and I know that you did this to, keep track of everything. But I mean, that's what we got Lenny for, the attorneys, and we got Scott over there who should catch everything, right, Scott? Sure, but if we can kind of just get the process to where it gets through to Lenny, and he approves them unless he thinks we need a resolution, then we bring them to the meeting.
Al, was there something that, is there like a threshold that we could look at? I'm not sure how, when we put this one.
Yeah, the only thing that it needs really for is the expenditure of funds. Like if you're moving funds or you're signing a contract or an agreement, it would probably require, the action of the body, you would think, Ellen.
Yeah, if it hasn't been approved in the budget, you know, if it's something that is extraneous to the budget and it's expending banned funds, then it would require RBC action. But that's why the RBC adopts a budget is so that, you know, if it's within the budget, then it doesn't have to come back here. And so most of the grants are actually within the budget already. I mean, there are some that are not budgeted, you know, and those things would have to come. But, you know, if it's obligating the band to spend money or even receive money, you know, the RBC needs to be aware of that as the governing body. It needs to accept the funds or approve the expenditure of funds under the Constitution and Ordinance I-65.
Okay, but do we need them for them to write a grant? I mean, you know.
No. Yeah, and what I've noticed actually in a lot of reviews that I'm doing is there are signatory requests that don't even have resolutions that we still have to wait for a meeting. And what it is it's signing the grant agreement after the council has already approved it, you know, and they actually attach the resolution that says, you know, 2 months ago, the council approved this resolution, and now we need the chairman's signature. Well, that resolution should have authorized and did authorize the chairman to sign and accept those funds. And so the chairman can just sign those funds because the body already took action on accepting those funds. And so I would say for sure those ones should need to come back to the RBC and the chairman should just be authorized, or the secretary treasurer, whoever the authorizing official is, should just be authorized to sign on behalf of the band because the body had already taken action. And I've noticed that come up several times, and I think that there are a few in here that they have old resolutions, you know, from 2 or 3 months ago, because it just goes through the grant process. You know, okay, the RBC authorized the grant application, it goes in, the agency, the funding agency reviews it, and they go through their process, and they say, okay, here's your grant agreement, sign it now to get the funds. And then the way that it's going right now is it comes back here to the RBC after that. And I feel that's an extra step for sure that we don't need to be doing right now.
And that would be great. I mean, look at our pile. Yeah, and I mean, you would know which ones need the resolution, and I have trust in you. I mean, and I don't know, Alan, what do you think? Because like some of them, the grants that have timelines, and then they, like the one the other day, you know, we were rushing, and it was like, well, I don't know, are we having a meeting, or, you know, I'd like to just see them get signed and.
Well, what I think has happened is, it was a managerial response to a lot of, because what we were having is a lot of obligations that were coming through in years past. And now there's been, some of the management has become more accustomed to the process that Lenny's talking about. And so the way I'm interpreting what you're saying, Annie, is that you think that the team is ready to transition to a little bit less of that extra step. And I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, the only legal obligations that Lenny's described, and I would agree with him. Like if it's committing money, if we're going to be spending money or anything like that, big stuff, like, yeah. But also I would add that, this is going to fall on Lori here, is that, you know, we have to be cautious that when you're talking about grants and accepting and receiving and applying, like the administration has to be strategic about which of these programs and grants that it wants to go after, right? So for example, oftentimes if you may recall, Kathy, we had, you know, human services going after the same grant as housing.
Yeah.
Right. So like, that's where, you know, the management has to, you know, seek guidance from this body to say, well, what do you guys want to do before it even reaches the table? What do you guys want to do? What is the direction you guys want to provide us? So like those conflicting things don't show up. Now, fortunately, the process that you're talking about helped deconflict that, right? And that's why you have a stack of papers. It helped deconflict it. But what I would agree with you, there's been more development in that area, so those issues don't show up. Right? So I'm fine with what Lenny's talking about, is if it's the expenditure of funds, if it's committing us, and if there's those strategic decisions that have to be made, then, bring it to the table. They should bring it to the table.
And that's where communication comes in, writers and human services, whoever should be communicating, maybe the grant writers, whatever, need to communicate with each other and, say, okay, I'm gonna go after this grant. Do you plan on doing it too? Maybe that's something we need to talk to them about,
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's getting a little overwhelming with, stuff that can just be signed by you guys. I mean, I have trust in Lenny, and if he says, yes, okay, yep, it's good to be signed, and I agree too with the expenditures and that, we should be looking at them, but, even if they could give us a copy after you guys sign or something,
Right.
that would be fine, for me, then I can look through it and.
Well, there's another method that could be utilized, that would assist is if, they call it a consensus agenda. This is what I've been exposed to recently is, the administration will send in like 2 weeks in advance a proposed agenda before the meeting, and before you even get to the meeting, right, you guys have had an opportunity to look at it and review it, and that way a lot of the things that don't need to be at the table aren't at the table. The things that are relevant at the table are brought to the table. That just requires a little bit extra work on the front end.
And
We're doing it on the thing is we're doing it on the back end.
Yeah.
Ideally, we can do it on the front end. And I think these guys can do that. I think you're right.
The concept of a consent agenda, I think, really has a lot of merit, because what it does is, this whole stack of paper could be one item on the agenda, and with one motion in 1 second, and then what happens is, it's sent to the body beforehand, and if anybody on the body has questions before the consent agenda is approved, that member can say, hey, I'd like to remove this and separate it and have a separate discussion on this specific issue. And so then that's removed from the consent agenda, added to the agenda later on, and then the rest of everything else is approved with one motion in 1 second.
I think if we do the consent thing, that'll address everything that you just brought up.
We don't have to read all the stuff, so.
And that would be awesome, because,
And the nice thing about that, then going back to another issue that Lori and I have been talking about, is the submitting things for review. Like there's going to have to be a hard deadline on that in order for us to get stuff for council, so you have a chance to review everything before the meeting agenda. And so I won't be coming in with stacks of papers like this on Friday, on the morning of the meeting, to say, okay, I have all this stuff that just came through. We can't add it at that point to the consent agenda.
that sounds good to me.
There is a time that you may want to consider a resolution, and that would be if there's ever a match, a general fund match in that grant.
Yeah, and I think Lenny would, let us know that, so. I have no problem with that.
Well,
You and Lori can work together on
Well,
this and get us a
yeah.
proposal to us to have us okay it, then we could just do one motion like we said and get this all done in one motion.
Right.
And then,
and usually the consent agenda includes meeting minutes and sort of all of the stuff that you do at the beginning of the meeting anyway. So, and it's easy enough to just do it in one motion, 1 second, boom, it's done, and then you move on to the other business of the meeting.
yeah, we can try it out. I mean, like I said, get us the proposal.
Yeah.
We're always learning, we're all not, like you said, we'll try it out, I guess. Okay, be good, guys.
Not only that, we're tabling everything.
Yeah.
And then you forget about it.
Okay, any more discussion on this thing? Be good. All right, next up is Whiters Builders.
And that was me, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question. Are we gonna be looking at hiring a general contractor to oversee, or whatever you call them, I don't know, oversee all of our big projects?
Yeah, that was something that we did in the past with when we had Roy Lavoie here.
Yeah,
His team had a team that would be our general contractor that would oversee these projects, and as Whiters Builders, we'd be the main contractor. and we'd sub out everything to all the parts of the project would get subbed out. And I think Rayanne is working on that process, I think, Lynn.
Well, it must be over a month ago now, Scott, that we had a call with Scott and Lisa MacArthur and me and Nicola and Rayanne to talk about White Earth Builders and sort of its purpose and what its function is, because there's a lot of things that White Earth Builders, so is White Earth Builders going to be an owner's representative or is it going to be a general contractor? Is it going to be owner's representative on construction projects, and represent White Earth and its interests, but not necessarily be actually doing the construction? Or is it going to be the general contractor that's actually doing the construction? Because the way things have kind of gone the last couple of years is there's been a little bit of confusion as to what White Earth Builders is, how it's supposed to be doing things. And then even with, their staff in the finance department that used to be at White Earth Builders that are now in finance, and it makes sense for them to be there because they're in the indirect cost pool, but then they're sort of fulfilling that owner's representative role, but only on certain projects, and there's other projects that White Earth Builders it makes more sense on. And so that's really the overall question is what role and function do we want White Earth Builders to fulfill? And so for the last couple of years, there really has been a lot of confusion, and I think that's where this is coming from. And they haven't had the staff there to be a general contractor. White Earth Builders, it's my understanding, actually didn't even have a contracting license. Like I think it was Mr. Lavoie's license that White Earth Builders was using. And so if White Earth Builders is going to be that general contractor, then we need to get White Earth Builders as an entity to be a licensed and bonded general contractor. And so those are issues that we are working out right now. I know that there's follow-up between Rayanne and Lisa, just to ensure that, there's clarity on projects that are moving forward and on, what is going to be done out of finance and what's going to be done out of White Earth Builders for owner's rep, and then also adding in that general contracting role to White Earth Builders again.
The goal of that organization, in my perception, is some department needs a new building. They need it remodeled. They need whatever. Those directors don't have any construction background. They might get screwed. So here comes White Earth Builders as like the owner's rep, the foreman out there to make sure the things that should be done are done. And lately, they've been pretty profitable because there's been so much construction going on. There was a time frame a few years ago, there was very little construction, so then they had very little fees. But now, we got White Earth IHS, we got Data Wash coming up, we had Mats and Moss. Last year, they were, in fiscal year 19, they were profitable, fiscal year 20, they're profitable, they should be profitable in the future. And they can provide great owner's representation and make sure that the product we're supposed to be getting is the product that we do get. They don't have staff to be the general contractor. Should we move down that road in the future? That's a different question. But providing work as the owner's representative, I think they're providing a wonderful service.
Okay, so there must have been some changes made then, because I know I talked to some of the ones that work at the clinic, and they told me they're 3 months behind. The one that's supposed to be there to tell them what to do wasn't there, maybe once a week. There wasn't much they could get done without him because he's not there. And so what is his job then? I mean, is he the one, I have no idea what his job is then if he's not.
Okay, so Gordon has a big portion of it. Does he have the whole contract?
I think so.
I think he has the whole contract, probably for the whole thing. But Gordon himself is doing certain parts of the work. And then he has subbed out, let's say, I'm going to make up a, he's subbing out the drywall, or he's subbing out the flooring, Or you
So I
saw
know all
all
that stuff, but what I'm trying to get at is that, so now Gordon is the general contractor overseeing the whole thing, because before we were told that the White Builder staff was the one they would have to go to, just like with, Mr. Lavoy. But Mr. Lavoy used to always be there all the time on a daily basis, where now whoever took his place is not there. And then, they have questions and they text him and everything, and he don't respond, or he says, I'm in a meeting. So he must have meetings every day of the week, except for the one half day he's there. And, the guys are coming to me, and I say, well, I know nothing about white earth builders, but I can bring it up. And then also, the contracts, I don't know. But the contracts, I'm wondering, because I asked, how do the contractors get on the list to get these bids, to be able to bid? Because some of them are asking me, they don't even see them. And I was told it has to be over a certain amount or something here in this email. And, but we got plenty of LLCs that can, bid on them. So why aren't they getting these letters to bid? Is it only certain ones? And I did email and ask, how do they get on this list or whatever, but nobody ever responded. And my concern is that we need to get it out to all the LLCs so that they have a chance to, get in on the bids too, especially our enrolled LLCs,
Right,
that
so
are out there.
I think on this issue, specifically what you're talking about, Annie, there needs to be much better communication between White Earth Builders and Carroll. Because Carroll has that list of Indian preference eligible contractors and subcontractors. And so, and I think anytime, White Earth Builders is involved in a project, that they need to ensure that they have that list, and, they'll have a list of, drywall subcontractors. And so anytime there's gonna be a RFP going out for a subcontractor for drywall, whether White Earth Builders is owner's representative or general contractor, or there's a different general contractor, should be making sure that those are the ones on the approved Carroll list that is getting the able to submit proposals.
And that's my concerns. It's just, I want to see our members that have a chance to bid too. And I also, maybe that's something you can bring back to the table and let us know which direction they are going, so we know.
Yep, I will follow up with Rayanne, and we'll, I'll have something at the next meeting.
Okay.
One of the problems that a contractor could have is when we do government jobs, you may have to be bonded, or you may have to have enough insurance. And somebody starting out probably doesn't have the ability to get bonded or have the insurance level that may be required by the company. So then, I, as that contractor, can't bid directly to the job. So then I probably have to go to a general contractor, like maybe Gordon, and say, Gordon, here's my bid. Here's my bid to do the part, put it in. And then there might be a number of other people bidding, providing the same service, and then Gordon decides which one of those contracts he picks.
I think that's the way it works for most of the bigger ones, but I'm talking about even the smaller ones where, say this place needed some drywall, you know?
Yes.
And I know how the bigger ones kind of work, and I know that, Gordon works closely with Carroll too, because he does have some Carroll workers down there.
Right.
So, I mean, and that was just some questions I had on it, but Lenny's gonna bring it back to the table, and so, he goes, Lenny.
All right, guys, we got you. So we'll get more information by next week,
Yeah.
and next Friday's meeting.
I'll be meeting with I got a meeting with Rayanne next week anyway on a couple issues, and I'm adding this to our agenda.
Okay. So next up I have is the volunteer fire department, and I think this comes from, Ed Singer, I think, is this the one? And I think, Lori, you took care of this, didn't you, with the Twin Lake Fire Department?
Yep, Chairman,
Send over.
25,000. And so I had a consensus of our tribal leaders, so we would need the decision that was made to be ratified today.
Thanks, yeah. But it was 42,000.
there was $42,000 that was available. 25,000 of it went towards the Twin Lakes Fire Department. So there's still
Where'd the
funding
rest
in
of
there.
that money go?
It's still there in the account.
Did you notify Maida Wash?
What's the question?
Did you notify Maida Wash?
Of what?
The $25,000 check for the fire department, Scott, for the volunteer fire department?
This came up to 42,000.
Okay, so at least since 2015, and I'm not sure if it goes back farther, the budget in the general fund for fire protection, which has been pretty much 100% White Earth and Twin Lakes, has been 42,381 or something. And so I don't know how that money originally comes in as a request every year from the council when finance is told to pay it or whatever. But then I got the request and was to write Twin Lakes check for 25,000. So I did that this week and I gave it
Who
to.
gave you, who did send 25,000?
That actually came from me because that was the same amount that we had given the White Earth Fire Department. And so when I was making my decision, when I had made that decision back in September, there was a request that came forward from the White Earth Fire Department in the amount of 25,000, or it was awarded. And I believe in that same meeting, Kathy, it was you that wanted the same amount for the Maida Wash Fire Department. So when I reached out to all of you all, I sent an email requesting, bringing forward the request in the amount of 25,000. And then I talked to each of you, and then we had a consensus and agreement. So I went ahead, asked Scott to issue the check, and I attached the emails on that request, and today was the request to ratify the decision.
And Kathy, there is an email in here from the fire chief there at Twin Lakes requesting 25,000.
What about the 42?
What about the 42?
The remainder, Scott, of the.
Well, typically, since 2015, 42,321 has been budgeted.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the reason, but in general, over all of those years, White Earth got 30,821 and Twin Lakes got 11,500. And that basically happened through 2019. 2015 through 2019, that's what happened every year. And then in fiscal year 20 last year, the only one I was told to give money to was to White Earth, which was 25,831. And then in October, end of October of 20, White Earth asked for another 25,831 and council approved it. And then you just approved this 25,000 for Twin Lakes just in this past week.
I just found out this week about the 42.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what the amount has been since 2015. Like I said, White Earth was getting 30,821
Yeah.
and Twin Lakes was getting 11,500. And then some years we have funded Carsonville, but we have they typically ask us for $20,000 to $30,000.
Usually, White Earth Housing pays that, huh?
White Earth Housing.
I think they all charge per house or something, but I know housing does have some money, don't they, Curtis?
Yeah, they request every year.
Yeah.
It's not that they will know, but.
To cover the housing units, you know? that
We
they
have White Earth General Fund, not this fund, a different fund has funded Carsonville in different years.
Okay.
Probably around 6,000.
Scott, you remember a couple months ago, it was pretty much when I first started, I think it was maybe my second meeting, there was a request from Elbow Lake Fire Department, who was the Elbow Lake Fire Department, where they were requesting something, and it had something to do with unspent money. And I know Chairman Fairbanks asked me to follow up with you. I brought it to your attention on the hallway, and then I didn't follow up on it. But I don't know, it just came to my mind right now, and I'm just wondering.
I'm not recalling that. I mean, I don't recall that we've typically in the past funded elbow lake to
I know we used to get money to Man Trap, wasn't it the Pine Point one, or what's it called out there?
Carsonville.
Yeah, that's it. But the elbows wanted like 11 grand or something, didn't they?
Mm,
Well, they'd asked, for 10 to 25,000, I don't recall, and some years we have funded them around 6,000.
Yeah, that's what we gave.
Because I know in 2017, we gave 6,000.
Yeah.
But that's come from a different fund, it's come from the general fund donations when it's been completed.
So to circle back to what Annie was bringing up before, what these two are talking about. So like we passed a budget of 42,000 for fire protection services. And under the approval of that budget, the executive director, it sounds, has issued $25,000 out of that budget to the Neighborhood Fire Hall.
Yes.
And as a result of that, she's coming forward and asking the body to ratify her decision. But I don't think we really need to unless anyone wants to make modifications to it.
Well, it's already budgeted, isn't
Yeah.
it, Scott?
Yes.
So we don't need to do nothing, do we? We just send in the whole $42,000.
Well, now we've actually spent 50,831.
So yeah, that was what I was.
So we've
No, it's a different-
overspent the budget.
Is it a different fiscal year?
No, they were both in fiscal year
In fiscal year 21, October of 20.
October of 20 and December of 20.
Okay, so then technically we would need a budget modification.
Well, we're not gonna modify the budget. I mean, we have budgets all over the place in general fund, and sometimes people come in under budget, and sometimes they come in over budget. And we don't go in and modify those budgets every time there's.
So what, so fire protection needs $8,000 more.
Yes.
And I think that would be the authorization that the council would be doing.
Oh,
Going back to, Annie's point about, well, what does the council need to do and not need to do? Well, this is the RBC spending a little bit more money than was previously budgeted, so RBC approving that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
okay. So to cover the difference then?
Yes.
So we need a motion on that then?
Unless Kathy wanted to make a motion to give them more.
just pass. If they don't give us nothing for the fire department, usually put it on.
Did they get something last year in 20?
No, they didn't. Last year was, and nobody, I don't know if they asked council, because usually the fire departments ask council, and council approves it, and then the executive director or somebody on council sends me or somebody in finance email or says, hey, the fire department, whatever. And we didn't get any requests in fiscal year 20 for that.
Okay, so we have to prove $8,000 more dollars. Is that what it is? Done?
Yeah.
So motion to allocate $8,000 more dollars to
To the line item for fire department.
for the line item for the Twin Lakes Fire, a budget modification.
Yeah,
For $8,000.
yeah, 8,000 more.
I thought he said we didn't have to do that.
Well, that's technically what it is, yeah. You're just adding $8,000 more to the,
It's the RBC authorizing that expenditure. Yeah.
Okay, motion by Alan, second?
Second.
Second by Annie, all in favor?
Aye.
Silent.
Okay.
I don't want the rest of that money.
Motion carries.
You know what, I mean, I think there is a valid point here though, where there maybe should be some follow-up for sure with White Earth and Twin Lakes to figure out how they're coming up with their requests for funding, because if one is coming in significantly higher than the other one, and the other one has been funded at that for a number of years, I mean, we should make sure that the funding, and maybe there's valid reasons for it, service area, service population, whatever. But however it is, I just feel like it'd be best to make sure that the money's being appropriated fairly, and all the people are being served.
And that would be good to do now, because White Earth has gotten a full allocation for this year. So if we make a modification, there's one or two things that's gonna happen. If, let's say Twin Lakes goes up, we either have to increase the budget to pay them, or we have to decrease White Earth's budget. And if we're gonna vote on reduced white earth budget, it would be nice to tell them as soon as possible.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Working on it. All right, let me quit, guys. All right, next up I have is the NCC letter.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is something that, I was asked to look at, and if you look in your supplemental packets, the one that I handed out, we'll probably have to dig in it for a little bit. It's the second one in there. So I took a stab at drafting this, and then, Alan and Scott corrected some of the information that I had in there. But this is the actual letter from Nadawash Community Council's in your bigger packet, and then this is the, sort of the response, responding to the points that they raised in their letter. And just answering their requests.
Okay.
Letting them know that,
Who's in charge of the council?
well, Lori and I had this discussion yesterday, and really there isn't a procedure or a process or anything, and that's one thing that we'd like to work on. And just so that there's uniformity, that information's flowing appropriately, that communications, is flowing both ways. I mean, right now it's just sort of
Yeah.
there, and I know I've had this conversation with like the Cass Lake Community Council is, just making sure that communication is flowing appropriately. And one of the things that I talked about with Lori yesterday is, I know one of our goals is to have 501c3 status for our community councils. That's going to require an umbrella corporation with a board of directors. And so then we're going to get, once that's set up and established, we're going to get some uniformity in the way, that things are operating on the community council level. And that will help us as we move forward. And I think it needs to be sort of community council driven, for the community councils to say, hey, this is the procedures, this is the protocols, that we want to follow. And this is how communication, should be flowing, and with input from, RBC and administration.
I don't think it's right to give Maria some extra communities to take care of, and you, right?
So what I
How
was,
many communities do you take care of?
there's 11 community councils, 11 communities. And so each of the assistants for each of the district reps and our secretary, treasurer, and our chairman, each would be a point of contact for the community councils. And in addition to the two larger communities, so district 2 and 3 would have additional supports, and that would be Maria and Aisha. So then we would be coming together as a group to make sure the communication is flowing more consistently and fluidly, so we can hear our community council's voice and our community members' voice, and they would be direct contact with you as their assistant, as your assistants. It is, the idea and concept is to provide more support to our community councils, more direct communication to bring information forward.
Well, she was telling me that they were put off, Karen, and then Karen quit, and then she came back on, and I don't know what's going on there. But, to talk to you and to talk to Maria. And I said, well, why are we talking to one as a secretary, our secretary, and the other one is?
So for your district, it was to talk to Ms. Kier, and also, so Deb Kier, and then also in addition to that, it would be Aisha, because you have such large communities. So you have Winoma and Nadawash. So we knew that it wouldn't be just one point of contact. You would have two additional supports for your community and your district. And then there would also be for District 3, 2 supports because of the large amount of communities and community councils.
Okay. I feel bad, there's a turnover. People get burnt out easy, and there's no pay. The volunteers, and
Well, there's pay, I think they get paid per meeting, as long as they get their information in to Maria. So I know that's something that you request every fall, I think, are the meeting minutes of their meeting in order to get reimbursed for their time at the meeting, their meetings. So I know this year we kind of had some communication problems with some of the community councils about getting in their meetings and who they're going to pay. So but hopefully we get this all ironed out, and I know Lori and Kurt will probably do a good job on that and getting that organized to make sure that we do
That's a
have.
lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah, that we do have a protocols and processes that these community councils have to follow. So I think it's important that our two executives here that'll do a great job working with these community councils and making sure that they're abiding by these processes, that if they don't get things in a timely manner, then that's on them, not us, And I think it's important that we get these processes put in place so it alleviates so much time and anxiety and pressure on us, because we're getting hit from all sides from these community councils because they want to get their junior, and I know that.
But, $50 a month ain't nothing. It isn't. I think we should match it. What is the housing fee?
I'm not sure. Curtis, has housing fee for those?
Yeah, they do,
Okay.
for the on-reservation. So, if they do it, just like.
And you guys can look at that, Lori, look at that and talk to Scott and
Should we
Alan.
match that
And
or?
if we can somehow.
Well, I got a request from, some
That's what
people in
you get
Detroit
done.
Lakes that want to, get a community council going there because we have a lot of members in Detroit Lakes that don't get served. So I don't know, we don't have a Callaway one. I don't know well, Callaway is on res, but could they somehow hook up with Callaway? I don't know.
So,
So
one of the ideas that we want to bring forward is to make sure we get all of the community council bylaws, and then also just map out what their boundaries and service areas are. So we can have one, and then once we know what the service areas are, then we will bring it back for approval from you all on, what areas are we going to serve? Because we have some community councils that are trying to service like the Crookston community. You know what I mean? And is it going to be a concept of serving the entire state of Minnesota, or is it going to be just on res? And then when we make those decisions and we talk about funding resources for them, how is it going to be sustainable? And whose voice are we trying to bring forward?
Well, they made a good point though. We got an urban community council, we got a Leech Lake community council. What's that other one? Iron Range. Look at how many members we do have in the Detroit Lakes area, and somebody from Moorhead even said they got all kinds of, so, it's getting out there now that, there's community councils. Now they all want to, but I think we got to at least acknowledge Detroit Lakes because they are, our closest one. And like they didn't get the gift cards, they didn't get nothing. I just feel bad for them, So if we can work on that fast and see what we can do, if they can, maybe be part of Callaway's community council because they don't have one, maybe they can all work together and,
Yeah, Andy, make sure that they get their bylaws, and that's the main thing, is getting their.
Well, that's what she was asking,
Yeah.
how do we go about that, so once you can, I'll give you her name and you can reach out to her.
Remember last year, we had actually Veronica and had it down there, a whole collection of the founding resolutions for each of these community councils. It would just take a resolution under Article 6 to establish one.
Mm-hmm.
They got all of them, whole stack of papers down there, the original, and their copies of bylaws. Hell, they could just give them a copy of that on Word and let them change it around, That would work. That could be done very quickly, matter of fact.
Yeah.
Probably by next regular meeting next week.
Okay, I'll give you her name and because I think that would be awesome.
I mean, it's not different from Leech Lake having a council in Bemidji.
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Well, have you guys all had a chance to look at this letter? Do you have any questions or comments on it? And is it okay for approval? I don't know, Kathy, you don't have to dig through your.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Scott.
Hey, Scott, what's gonna happen to the extra money?
We just added it.
You just added enough money to spend it.
Already spent it.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, so, you got those, years that they want for the self-governance budgets?
Do I have the self-governance budgets?
Yeah, for those, the specific requests.
I think that Jimmy Cassette has all those because he's the last one that's worked on self-governance.
They could get copies, you could have them get copies over to Amy, and then I'll have, Amy contact the community.
Here you go, Scott, I'll give you this so you have it. It's, the specific
I'll have Amy call them.
18, 19, 20, and 21 BIA budgets. I don't know if we necessarily need a motion on the letter, but it'd be good if there's consensus on it. This is responding to the letter that NCC sent last week. They request a response by Monday, so we're a few days behind.
You months?
Well, a few years if you want to be technical.
So they want all back pay then, or what do they want?
Huh? No, their letter was, they raised a couple of points. Really, it was just about raising the issue that the Twin Lakes Fire Department hasn't received funding. And so there was some requests in there to look at budgets. There was some statements in there about the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act. And so this letter just addresses those concerns.
Okay.
Yeah.
We took care of it financially, didn't we?
Yeah, financially, it's my understanding the check has been approved and has gone out.
In the mail.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
You guys,
check is in the mail.
and you guys are okay with this letter, Kathy, Annie, Alan? Okay. So just consensus or? You want-
Yeah, no, yeah, since it's responding, I don't think we need a motion or second.
And I'll have Amy contact them to get them copies of that.
Yeah.
Then you want me to sign it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or wait, I think I might have a Laura Lee printed out a signature grade copy over here for you.
All right, guys, so we're okay with that then, okay. All right, let's go, I think that's it, I don't know if anybody, there's one old business, homelessness, what do you want to have a look at? Before we take a break, we get into signature. Remember you wanted to talk about some homeless?
Homeless,
Be good.
she's been on the list for 2.5 years. And I don't know, I haven't talked to housing yet.
Here.
So I was wondering, and then I try to help out by giving out a room or two nights, and some have like 6 kids in that one room. And so I don't know. On the homelessness, how we're coming.
Yeah. Did you reach out to Christine Olson?
Yeah, I did. And I reached out to,
Are they eligible for congregate housing? Are they that old or are they young?
they're not that old.
Oh. And I suppose
So
housing,
I have a problem with homelessness. I've got a real problem with homelessness. And I want to answer for her. I don't think, we should have 12 months would be plenty of time. Plenty of time.
do you want to work with Kathy's constituent to see what we can do? I mean, I know that
2.5 years of homelessness is too much.
but, I mean, that's something that's kind of delicate, and I know that a lot of us feel the effects of that through our family, and I know that I know ourselves as a body, the council is like we need to, I know next year we got some apartments going up in Omen. I know we need to get a more permanent plan for our homeless you know, I think that when Ray comes back, we could maybe, you know, ask him on some questions on, you know, we maybe start a planning committee with Curtis Laurie and bring in Michael Thompson and get, I know they got some federal monies or some grants to look at and address some of these issues with homelessness within White Earth borders. I know that they're gonna have professional help coming on board to address some of these issues, so I know it's kind of, it's out there, and I know that we deal with it all the time. As council members, we're getting requests all the time because they have no place to go or stay, and you know, and I try to be as much as information as I can to get to them too, and I know it's overbearing sometimes, and it's hard on us too. It takes a toll on us as council too to hear these stories, so. But we're working on them, and you know, we'll get something going, so hopefully, you know, in real near future that we have something going up and hopefully get some structure built up so we can get more people sheltered, so be good. All right, let's take
We should set a time, you know, give these people, get some mail going between housing and some of the people. And that's what's happening is they're not knowing that they have to come back in. They think they signed up and might have signed up, but they need something. They need something in their application.
I think they automatically send, because I think it's a yearly, well, when I would work there, it was a yearly thing, and you do a couple clicks on the computer and it'll generate a letter. It's time for you to update your application for the low rent waiting list or something, you know, 3-bedroom size, and you know, it's good for them to update too, because they might need a 4-bedroom or, you know, a bigger, but sometimes they move, no forwarding address, so you know, what do you do? How do you?
Well, at least try.
Yeah, and they do call too, I think some, so it's, I don't know, Kurt might have more information on that.
Yeah, they call, and there's a yearly, they have to come and update their applications.
Or they get on the eviction list, right?
No, they get removed from the list if they don't update within so many certain days.
People are in a home.
Oh, yeah, they get a set, and yeah, that's something that they sends out, because I've been getting letters or messages from elders, you know, saying that they got a notice that they're gonna be thrown out if they don't update their, you know, do their annual thing. And I said, well, I said, I think everybody gets that, and so I called housing, and they said it's an automatic letter that comes from HDS, their computer thing. And I said, well, maybe you wanna kind of reword that differently, because you know, you're really getting a lot of people mad by saying you're gonna evict them. It's like, you know.
Yeah, it's tough because it has to, like, they have to update in order, so.
Right. But that's why I would like to see, you know, housing out in the communities maybe once a week, so they can get them updates done, because some of our people can't make it in. You know, that goes for all of our programs. I'd like to see them out in the communities more.
When I was on there, we meet each community, you know.
All right,
And
guys.
it's really a good turnout,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on break. We're gonna go 10-minute break.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna go on a 10-minute break. Miigwech, thank you. We'll log back on here soon.
Well, then we gotta go through the.